In this lesson, we're going to cover one of the most difficult questions that any Drupal site builder faces. How do you select a module? Let's step back for a moment and explore what I mean by this question in the first place. So we're currently under the Extend section of the Manage tab on our site. This shows us a list of all modules available to our site, which means all bits of functionality that we can add to the site as little packages. We can take a look at the listing of functionality here, or of modules that are available. All of the modules that you're seeing in this list right now came with the core Drupal install that we started with. So this is all out of the box. But let's say that there's some functionality that we want that's not part of out of the box Drupal. What we would then do is go to Drupal.org and look for contributed modules that might solve needs that we have. So let's take a look at Drupal.org. And on the Drupal.org site, you'll see in the bottom right corner here, there's a listing under Develop with Drupal that says that there are over 30,000 modules and over 2,000 themes. There are also a lot of other things available here as well. But these 30,000 modules, let's click on this. This is all functionality or code that's been contributed by the community. The community is made up of anybody who works with Drupal and chooses to contribute something back to the Drupal ecosystem. The Drupal ecosystem is rich and it's constantly growing. For Drupal 7, there are tens of thousands of modules available. Many of those modules solve similar problems in different ways, and so it's up to you to decide which module is best suited to your specific needs. Sometimes the only way to do this is to actually install the module in your development environment and try it out. It's important to note that at the time of recording this video, Drupal 8 is still fairly new, it's still in beta, and there aren't quite as many modules out there as there are for Drupal 7. Right now, I think it's somewhere around 900 modules. By the time you watch this video and build your Drupal site, there will be thousands of modules available for Drupal 8, so you will have a broader range to choose from. The easiest way to find a module that you might be looking for is to do a search. So we're going to start with the search up here. So let's say that we're looking for a module that will help us fine tune the way that content is displayed on our site. So I might do a search for display. I'm going to refine my search and indicate that I really only want to see modules at this time. This search has returned over 4,000 modules. And you'll see that right here where it says modules. There's 4,709 modules available. I can narrow this down to the core compatibility for Drupal 8 because I know that I'm working with Drupal 8. A Drupal 7 module or a Drupal 6 module will not work with my Drupal 8 site. That has immediately refined my results down to 261 modules. That's still a lot of modules to look at, but it's a lot easier to look at 261 than it is to look at over 700. There's another filter here that I might want to use just to refine my results down to those modules that I'm potentially interested in placing on my site. That filter is the maintenance status filter up here at the top. I probably want to set this to actively maintained. What this means is that the module that I'm looking at, or the modules that will then be returned at that point, are modules that the maintainers are caring for at this point in time. So they aren't modules that have been abandoned for a long period of time and might have a ton of issues on them that haven't been addressed, or might not have had security updates on them. This will refine it just to those modules that are really being groomed with the current needs in mind. So I'm going to select that. Now, this doesn't drop my results down by much, but it does drop them down even further. I now have 216 results instead of 261 results. So that does help a little bit. Now I can take a look at the modules that are listed and choose the one that I'm interested in looking at further. We're going to look at Display Suite. The module page tells you a lot about the module and whether or not you might want to use this particular module in your site. Display Suite is a great module that has served us well for Drupal 7 sites for quite some time. And in Drupal 8, it can also potentially be a very interesting module giving us a lot of ability to really control how content is displayed. So let's look at the anatomy of the module or project page, as this is called. The first thing that we're given, aside from the title of the project, is a description. This description is only going to be as good as the description written by the maintainer. It's important to keep in mind that contributed modules are not created or maintained by an official Drupal organization. They are contributed by the broader community, contributed by people just like you and me. Given that that's the case, it's really important to think about the humans behind this. And if the quality of the project page isn't what you need it to be, it's partly your responsibility to help make it what it needs to be. Now, in this case, I'm looking at the description. What I'm interested in is to know how this module will fare with Drupal 8. So it says Drupal 8 Display Suite is not stable yet. Don't use in production. In this case, however, since we're using this for learning, it doesn't really matter to me that this particular module isn't stable and shouldn't be used in production. The next thing that I'm going to be interested in, I'm going to scroll down here. I'm very interested in the project information. What I want to know is that this module is actively maintained, so any issues that come up will probably be looked at and really keeping it relevant. I also like to see the number of installs and downloads for the particular module. So this module has a lot of people using it. There's over 128,000 sites currently reporting using this particular module display suite. That tells me that this has a very strong presence in the Drupal community. And if the current maintainers of the module drop away, there are a whole lot of people who have a vested interest in making sure that this module remains relevant and secure. The next thing I'm interested in looking at on this module project page is the download section. This gives me access to the most recent releases that are available, as well as to all past releases if I want to go back further into the history of this project. The ones that are green are modules that have been tested and reviewed by the community. So these ones are fairly safe to place on your site because they have gone through some kind of a rigorous review. If they have a yellow background, it means they're probably good to use, but they haven't yet been reviewed and tested by the community. So you'll want to make sure that you do extra testing with these modules and just make sure that your site works as expected. This is also a great opportunity for you to contribute back to the community because you can be the person who reviews and tests this particular module and then reports back and says, yes, this particular release has been tested by the community and it passed the testing. The releases that are labeled in red, the development releases, are ones that either need work or are on hold in some way. You can also get involved here by taking a look at these releases and helping the people who are maintaining this module solve the problems that they're facing, or by testing something that might need to be looked at on this particular version. You won't want to use a red release in production, however, without doing extensive rigorous testing on your own. The next thing of interest on a module page, I'm going to scroll back up to the top here, is this right sidebar. So the first thing that we see in the right sidebar are the maintainers for this module. This is a list of the individuals who are currently committing to this module. It's worth taking a look at this list and seeing if you recognize any of the names, because these are people who contribute on Drupal.org. We can see here that the last commit was 1 day ago. So this is a really active module right now, and we know that it's really being cared for. The next thing to look at is the issue queue. Anytime you encounter a problem with a module, you can go to the issue queue and do a search for the problem that you encountered. Oftentimes that search will reveal some kind of a solution, possibly a patch for the module, or it will indicate that what you're trying to do isn't really the way that the module is supposed to work, and it will perhaps recommend another module. If your search in the issue queue doesn't yield any results, then you can go ahead and create a new issue, and that will then be looked at and potentially acted on by the community. Let's take a look at the issue queue quickly. So this shows you the issue queue for Display Suite. You can see that the issue queue was last updated 5 hours ago. So people are talking about Display Suite, and they are working with the bugs. They're coming up with solutions. They're also coming up with recommendations for how it might work better. Going back to the project page, the other thing that you'll find here in this right sidebar are links to documentation. This is also extremely helpful. Sometimes you'll find links to examples or demos. You'll also find links here to related projects. So to summarize, there are thousands of contributed modules to choose from on Drupal.org. You'll want to carefully review any module that you add to your site. These modules are maintained by busy people with other obligations, so if there are concerns that you have with the module, the best place to go is to the issue queue and either look for your issue and then find the solution there, or try to help solve the issue by coming up with your own patch and then contributing it back. Once you select a module, you'll need to add it to your site, and this we will cover in the next lesson.